All right, we're going to go ahead and start the webinar here. My name is Seth Ressler, and this webinar is about how to maximize your radio station's email campaigns with minimal effort. This is all about getting the most out of your email marketing, which you are probably already doing, but at the same time, putting in as little as possible into your email marketing, because I know that everybody in radio these days is strapped for time and for resources, and so we're going to see how we can do this most effectively. First, before we get into the webinar, a little introduction about myself. My name is Seth Ressler. I am a 20-year broadcasting veteran, and I have worked at K-Rock in New York City, WBCN in Boston, The End in Seattle, KEZR in Silicon Valley, The Point in St. Louis, and WBRU in Providence. I've been a program director, a music director, an imaging director. I've done every air shift there is, so I've worked both on the mic and behind the mic. I know what both of them are like, or behind the programming desk, I guess. But I left, actually. I got out of radio. I left for online marketing and worked for a couple of Silicon Valley companies and learned a lot doing that. But when you have radio in your bloodstream, it is hard to get it out. And I kept finding myself returning to radio, but increasingly interested in how to apply the online marketing things that I had learned to what radio stations do. These days, I write a column for All Access. I've been doing that for almost a year now. Every week, I write a column about how radio stations can use the internet to engage their audience, grow their revenue. I also have a website over at sethressler.com. If you get a moment, please go check it out. I write there as well. I offer online strategies for on-air professionals. While you're there, sign up for my email list. Once a week, I send out an email offering tips on how to use the internet to grow your audience, engage your audience, grow your radio station's revenue. Actually, I use the same email strategies for that email campaign that I send out every week that we're going to talk about here today. And finally, of course, you can hire me. I work with program directors, morning shows, syndicated talent, sales teams, whatever you want. Go over to sethressler.com, click on the consulting link, and send me an email, and we'll talk if that's something you're interested in. All right, let's get into the webinar. So today we're going to talk about how to automate your email strategy. That's really what we're talking about. And the goal with an email strategy is to, it's basically to keep your listeners engaged. It's to constantly keep yourself at the top of their mind by engaging with them on a regular basis. But at the same time, we want to automate that. Because we want to do it while investing as little time as possible. Because like I said, I know everybody in radio station these days, there's no such thing as somebody who's pulling single duty anymore. I mean, everybody's a jock and something else, and the program director and the promotions director and the chief engineer, you know, whatever it is. Everybody's pulling double duty. And so how can we constantly be emailing our listeners and yet at the same time be doing all these other things that we need to be doing? And that's what we're going to talk about today, and we're going to discuss some different strategies. Now, I'm not going to get into the technical details of how to do all this because that's going to depend on the email service provider that you use. Different email service providers do it in different ways, but I am going to give you some of the concepts, and then your webmaster should be able to figure out how to do these with your particular email service provider. Let's start with mistakes. Common email mistakes that radio stations make. And here's the first one, and it's a big one. Radio stations spend too much time writing emails when they should spend their time writing blog posts instead. Don't get me wrong. If you are a radio station, you need to be producing written content. Your staff needs to be writing a lot. That was not true 15 years ago. You didn't need to be doing that. But these days, it's not enough to be producing audio content. Your station needs to be producing written content as well. You should be pumping out lots and lots and lots of written content. However, none of that written content should be in emails. It should all be in blog posts that go on your website. And there's a couple of reasons for this. One, when blog posts are on your website, search engines like Google, Yahoo, Bing, they crawl your website, they index those, they produce search results to people that send people and send traffic back to your website, okay? That's not going to happen with the email, which lives on your email service provider or in your email client that your listeners have, okay? So we want that search engine traffic. Two, social media. People can share your blog posts much, much easier than they can share your emails. And they're much, much more likely to share your blog posts than your emails. And third, and this is really the big one, is on your website, you're going to convert people. We talked about this in the blogging for radio stations webinar that I did last week, that you want to convert people, whether that's get them to sign up for your email list or buy concert tickets or buy merchandise or fill out a form requesting sales information. Whatever your point of conversion is on your website, that's not going to happen in the email. That's going to happen on your website. So what we really want to do is spend our time writing blog posts for the website and automate everything that goes out in email. Okay, we don't want to spend time writing individual emails. Second mistake that people make, they don't email consistently. You email your listeners a couple times a year when you got a big station concert going on or a big promotion, and that's it. And otherwise, people forget about you. That doesn't do anything to keep you top of mind with your listeners. You want to email them consistently. Number 3, radio stations don't set and then meet expectations. When people sign up for your email, you want to tell them how often you're going to send them an email, and you're going to want to tell them what is in those emails. You'll notice that when you go to sethressler.com and you sign up for my email list, it tells you right there that, hey, I'm going to send you an email once a week, and in it, you're going to find tips for how to use the internet to grow your radio station's audience. And then, of course, it's very important that you meet those expectations. That's what I send out. So it's important that you not only set the expectations, but you meet the expectations. Otherwise, people are going to unsubscribe from your list. Number 4, people put too much text in emails. I don't know about you, but I get a lot of emails every day. I don't have time to read all the emails I get. I especially don't have time to read the long ones. Do not put novels in your email. And there's another reason for this besides people don't, read long emails. The other reason is that it doesn't give you any information. If you look at the stats that you're going to get in your email reports, and we'll talk about this a little bit more later, you'll see a couple of stats. One is the open rate, who opened your email, and the other is the click-through rate, who clicked on links in your email. Well, the open rate looks the same for somebody who opened your email but didn't read a word of it, and somebody who opened your email and read every single word of it really, really carefully. You can't tell those two apart with the open rate, okay? So what you want to do is just put a little teaser amount of text in there and say, hey, you want to know more? Click this link. Then you look at the click rate and you look at what people are clicking on, and that tells you that people are interested in a particular piece of content. So we want to put just a little bit of text and get people to click on a link. That's the key there. And I'll show you how I do this in the email template on the next slide. Okay, finally, people email out ads. Don't do this. Don't do this. People signed up for your email list because they want to know about your radio station. Okay, not because they want, to know about the mattress discounter down the street who's got a sale going on this holiday weekend. If you email ads, people will very quickly unsubscribe from your email list, and your email campaigns will not be successful. Email people content. All right, let's talk about selecting an ESP. ESP means email service provider. That is the software that you are going to use to send out your mass marketing emails. I am not talking about Gmail. I'm not talking about Yahoo. I'm not talking about Outlook. I'm talking about on the small business end, things like MailChimp or Constant Contact or Aweber. And then if you work for a big radio corporation, you may be using something that's even more of an enterprise solution because you may be sending out a lot of emails. How do you know which ESP you should be using? Well, here's some of the criteria that I would look at. First, of course, is cost. Does it fit into your budget? And you're going to look at the number of people you have on your list. You're going to figure out how often you email those people. And quite often pricing depends on either the number of people on your list or the number of emails you send per month. And so figure that out and figure out what's going to cost. Second, I like to look at integration. How well does the email service provider play with my other tools? How well does it play with the other things that I've got going on? In particular, and by the way, the reason for this is, when you are strapped for time and strapped for resources, I like to automate as much as possible. I like to get all my software to talk to each other so that I don't have to spend my time going between pieces of software and cutting and pasting and doing a bunch of manual tasks. In particular, look at how well it plays with your website. If you've got a WordPress website, and I hope you do, how well does it integrate with that? Also, how well does your email service provider integrate with Google Analytics? Because you should be looking at a Google Analytics report every week to know what's going on with your websites for your radio station. Three, look for an RSS to email feature. And I'm going to talk about this more in a minute. This is one of the things that we're going to use to automate our email campaigns. Number four, look for autoresponders, sometimes called automation, sometimes called drip campaigns. There's a couple of different names for this, but this is another feature we're going to use. And I'm going to talk about this more in a minute to automate our campaigns. These two things will mean that there's less work for you to do. Look at the reports that your email service provider gives you. And make sure that they're easy to read and they provide useful, actionable information. There's actually two types of reports I would look at. One is for the email campaigns themselves, and that will tell you things like the open rate, the click-through rate, the unsubscribe rate, what people are clicking on. And that's very, very useful to have. The other is list growth. How many people are signing up for your email list? Can you figure out why people are signing up for your email list? That's also very useful, actionable information. Next, the user interface. How easy is this software to use? There's nothing worse than having to spend a lot of time getting frustrated because you don't find the software that you have very easy to use. And last, support. If you think you're going to need customer service, make sure that they offer customer service in a way that's useful to you. Figure out whether they do live chat, or is it email only, or is there a phone number you can call? Are they available during the hours you'll need them? Figure that out. Make sure that works for you. I will tell you that I have used MailChimp for years. I really have found it very useful. The cost is great. If you've got a small list, it can get a little expensive once you get up to the higher end. It integrates really well. It was one of the first to have RSS to email and autoresponders. The reports, it does not have a great list growth report, which I wish it did. But other than that, I think it's great. Okay, so once you've got your email service provider, the first thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to design the look of your email. This is your email template. And I'm going to walk you through the email template that I use for SethRessler.com and talk about how you can apply it to your radio station. By the way, if this is small and you can't see it, I highly recommend that you go to SethRessler.com and sign up for my email list. And then you'll see this every week and you can take a better look at it. But a couple of things. One, you'll notice that I don't use a lot of images in my email campaigns that go out. That's because I've seen a lot of email clients that just pull the image out, or they don't download the image until you click a link, and I never click those links. So I like to, not have any images in my emails. Now, that doesn't mean this is a text-only email. Even though it only has text, it's actually not a text email. It's still an HTML email. I just like the nice clean look. A couple of things that I do. One, we talked about setting expectations when people sign up for the email list. I like to reset those expectations at the top of my email template. So you'll see the first line of my email is, each week I send you practical tips on how to engage your audience using the internet. So once again, I tell people how often I'm going to send them an email, and I tell them what they're going to get in that email. I remind them of that every week. The other thing I like to do is put a forward link at the top of the email. Not a lot of these emails get forwarded, but it's always nice when they do. And I like to make that easy for people to do. So I just have a line that says, if you find them useful, please forward this email to a colleague. And it's linked. It will forward if they click that link. I like to put key static links, key constant links at the top of my email. For me, that's see my upcoming webinars, take my online course, or hire me as a consultant for your station. For you, that is probably going to be things like listen live, or see the concert calendar, or read, our full blog, or, see the playlist. A good idea is to go into your Google Analytics, look at what your most popular web pages on your radio station's website are, and put links to them here so that people can click right through to them. But I would say listen live now is probably the biggest one there. And then comes the variable part. This changes from email to email. And I'm going to talk about this in a minute, how the RSS to email feature does this, but it plugs in excerpts from my latest blog posts. You will notice that I use very little text here. There is a big title that is linked to the full article. There is a short excerpt, and there is a button that says read more. Now, I only publish 1 to 2 blog posts a week, so I put in that teaser excerpt, and I want people to click through to the full article. If you are publishing 10, 15, 20 blog posts a week, and I hope that you are, by the way, gave a great webinar last week on blogging for radio stations. Go check it out. Then you may not even want to use the excerpts or the read more button. You may want to use less text, just the headline. just a list of headlines and let people browse and click the ones you want. You can see that down at the bottom of this email in the recent articles section, I actually do that for a few more older articles as well that people can click through. So very, very little text here. Again, I don't want people to read the text on the email. I want them to read the content on the website. That's where we can convert them. Social media links, you can put them in here as well. People can tweet or like a post. You can also put social media links for people to follow as well at the bottom of your email. And finally, unsubscribe links, which are a legal requirement. Your email service provider will automatically put that in, but that always needs to be at the bottom of every email. Let's talk about how to do a campaign. This is the first of 3 campaigns I'm going to show you. This is a campaign for new or recent content, stuff that you have published to your blog post recently. And what this campaign is going to do is, once a week or maybe once a month or maybe even every day, it's going to pull your latest blog posts from your website, and it is going to format them in that template, and it is going to send them out. And then the way it's going to do that is it's going to use what's called an RSS to email feature. And again, this feature, how you set it up is going to vary slightly depending on who your email service provider is. So I'm not going to get into the technical how-to details of it, but I want you to understand the concept of how it works, and then your webmaster can set this up. First, you need to know what an RSS feed is. And if you've ever seen this orange symbol here with the white waves, that is RSS. That's what that symbol means. The best way to think of RSS is think of it like a cable channel. Think of it like HBO or Showtime or FX or something like that. And you've got content coming down this cable channel, right? And you can plug that cable channel into a television. In our analogy, the TV here is going to be what's called an RSS reader. So you can go find an RSS feed, a cable channel from a particular section of the New York Times, and maybe Perez Hilton's blog, and maybe some other sources that you really, really like, and you can plug them into your RSS reader, and you can basically custom design a newspaper for you so that you can read all your favorite websites in one place that's easy to find, right? So an RSS feed is the cable channel, the RSS reader is the television, right? Well, what we're going to do here when we set up this automatic email campaign is we're not going to use the RSS reader. We're not going to use the television. We're going to take that cable channel, that RSS feed, and we're going to plug it into our email service provider. And our email service provider is going to take the content that comes down that RSS feed, and it is going to plop it into your email template, and it is going to automatically send it out. And it's smart enough to know only take the new content since the last email campaign came out. Right. So, I post a new blog post. I sent my last email campaign out last Wednesday. I post a couple new blog posts on Friday and Saturday. And the next Wednesday, my email service provider can pull the content, the new blog posts from my RSS feed, automatically format it in a template, and send it out. And that's how it works. And this is great for regularly sending out your most recent content. Now, you may want to set up a couple of RSS to email campaigns. For example, you may want to change the frequency and let people opt in to different frequencies by using different groups. You can have a monthly group and an RSS to email campaign that sends out on the 1st of every month. You can have a weekly group. You may want to have a daily group. You can also vary your RSS to email campaigns by category of content. This is particularly easy if you have a WordPress website where you can set up a different RSS feed or you automatically have a different RSS feed for each category. So for example, you may want to take your morning show content and send it out every day. You may want to let people subscribe to just concert emails, and anything in the concert category gets emailed out to them, once a week, or maybe just contests or something like that. So you can set up multiple RSS to email campaigns, and this will automatically pull all your content. So you can spend all your time writing blog content and none of your time writing emails. Let's talk about the second type of campaign. This is a campaign for older content, older blog content. And we don't think about this a lot in radio, right? In radio, we get up, we do a new show every single day. And when the show's over, it's gone. And we never think about it again, right? And we're on to the next one. But with the web, this stuff lives on. It has a long shelf life. And so you may have older content that is still interesting to people and people still want to read or engage with. And so rather than just let this content sit there in the back end of your blog and nobody sees it, you can recycle a lot of this older content that's that people are still interested in. That Beyonce interview that you did last year, or that great morning show bit that happened, 2 years ago, or the April Fool's Day joke that you did in 2006. Like, people might still be interested in that content. And so we can set up a campaign to recycle our greatest hits from our blog. Now, this is not an RSS to email campaign. This is what's called an autoresponders or an automation or a drip campaign. We're going to set up a campaign that takes our older hand-picked blog posts, the ones that we think are the best, and sends them out. And an autoresponder or drip campaign has a trigger. There is some action which kicks this campaign off, which triggers it and causes people to be entered into this campaign. In this case, it's going to be signing up for the email list. When you sign up for the email list, you have triggered the campaign. There are other triggers, people click on a link or so on and so forth. But in this case, signing up for the email list is what triggers the campaign. But then we delay the response. So a week after you've signed up for the email list, you get an email with, hey, by the way, we did this awesome Beyonce interview last year. If you want to hear it, here it is. And then 2 weeks later, they get another email that says, hey, remember that awesome morning show bit we did, 2 years ago? Well, if you want to listen again, here it is. And it's a link to the bit on the blog. And then maybe a month later, another email goes out, right? And so you can have several emails in this campaign. And so this is a great way to automate your greatest hits. Now, you will have to set up this campaign once, and put an individual email in for each of those pieces of content. But once it's set up, it automatically runs and it automatically fires. So create a campaign and recycle your older blog content. Don't let it just sit there. And here is the third type of automatic campaign that every radio station should be doing. And radio stations often don't think about this. They often overlook this. This is going out to a different list, a different email list, a different group of people. So far, the two campaigns that we've talked about go out to listeners of the radio station. This one is going out to potential advertisers, people who might want to be clients. And what we're talking about is a lead nurturing campaign. What that basically means is, people find themselves at different stages of the buying cycle when they advertise. Maybe in the beginning, they think they might want to advertise on radio, but they're not really sure. Maybe they want to advertise on TV. They haven't decided the medium. It's early in the process. They haven't gotten buy-in from, the appropriate people within their organization. They don't necessarily have a budget to spend, but they want to know something. Like, if you can capture people at that early stage, great. And then let's nurture them through the buying cycle so they get to the point, well, oh yeah, okay, now they've decided radio, but they haven't decided which station. You want to influence them there as well. And then hopefully they decide your station, but they haven't decided exactly how much to spend. You want to influence them as well, right? So, all this, by the way, is happening before they talk to a salesperson. If you send a salesperson in too early, they're going to shut down because they're not ready to make a purchase. You don't want to send a salesperson in until the right moment, but you can use email to nurture people along the way until they get to that moment where they are ready to engage with a salesperson. And we're going to do this using a drip campaign. Okay, the autoresponder drip campaign, just like the last one I showed you. But this drip campaign is going to, instead of doing your Beyonce interview and your morning show bit, it's going to drip out content that relates to people who might be thinking about advertising. And I'm going to give you some sample lead nurturing content. For example, you might want to create a blog post or a one sheet or a short white paper that talks about how does radio fit into your ad campaign. Helps people who are at that stage where, well, I think radio, but maybe TV, maybe billboards, maybe Facebook ads, maybe Google AdWords. I don't really know. It would be great to have a piece of content that says, well, look, here are the factors you should consider when you look at the different types of advertising that you should do. Somebody's going to be very early in the buying stage. They may not be ready to talk to a salesperson, but they would read this piece of information. So let people opt in and send them that piece of information. And that keeps you top of mind when they do get to the point where they're ready to place some advertising. Another piece of content, guide to understanding radio ratings. This is great for potential clients. What is this AQH and CUM and TSL? I don't understand. How do I, great. Lay it out in a way that they don't actually have to talk to salespeople just yet. Put it out there. Here's another great one. 10 questions to ask your radio salesperson. Great piece of content that people would want to read. And by the way, you can see, depending on the piece of information that they click on and that they actually wind up reading, what stage they are at in the buying cycle. Okay, somebody who is just looking at how does radio fit into my ad campaign, it's real early. They're not ready to talk to a salesperson. 10 questions to ask your radio salesperson, that's somebody who's getting ready to talk to a salesperson. That's a good time for you to call that person or you to engage with that person. So that's how we're nurturing these leads and moving them through the buying cycle and keeping your radio station top of mind at every stage. And of course, you want to call to action on this email. What do you want them to do next? It is not always, hey, call us now and talk to a salesperson now. Sometimes it's, hey, you've read this piece of lead nurturing information. Now, when you're ready for the next one, download the next one. So lead nurturing, I think, is something that's great that people can do with automatic email campaigns. I don't think radio stations do enough of this. I think they overlook this quite a bit. And if it's something that you'd like more help with, by all means, contact me and we can help you set this up. Finally, how do we measure our success? Well, we talked about these email reports. One is list growth, and you should be looking at that. But the other one measures the actual email campaigns. And there's a couple of key metrics that you can look at. The open rate, how many people opened your email? You want this to be about 30%. 30% is roughly the average. Over 30%, great. Under 30%, not so great. Click-through rate. I will say that all these do go down the bigger your list is. Small lists tend to have higher rates and bigger lists just naturally have lower rates. But click-through rate, you'd love to see this about 10%. That's a good gauge. I happen to know for SethWrestler.com, by the way, my open rate's 30%. My click-through rate's about 9%. So I need to get it up a little bit. Unsubscribe rate. And by the way, click-through rate is the one that I really care about because that tells me what people are interested in. Unsubscribe rate, you want this to be less than 1%. I mean, you're always going to have a couple people who unsubscribe. They move. They, whatever the reason is, it doesn't always reflect upon you. It sometimes reflects on what's going on in their life. And don't read too much into your unsubscribe rate unless you see it suddenly jump. If it spikes really high, you've done something wrong. But, there's always going to be some unsubscribes. And finally, look at what type of content people are clicking on, because that tells you that people are interested in it. And it tells you that you should be creating more content of that type. So if every time you put an article about, Taylor Swift in your blog and it gets automatically emailed out and people click on it, that tells you, hey, maybe people are interested in Taylor Swift. We should write more blog content about Taylor Swift. So those are some of the things that you can look at. And again, I recommend that you always pay attention to what's going on with your email. At least check in on them like once a week. Same time, same meeting where you're checking in on your Google Analytics. Look at your email reports. I mentioned a number of things in here in this webinar. If you'd like more information, I do have blog posts on my site about them. So here are some of the links, and I will send this out in the email to everybody who attended the webinar as well. And thank you very much for taking the time to listen. I hope that this was useful. Again, you can learn more at my website, SethWrestler.com. And while you're there, sign up for my email list. You'll see exactly how I use, in particular, the RSS to email campaign that we've talked about here today, and that sends out the weekly email that you'll get every week. So thank you for attending, and peace.